Shalom, friends. Welcome to this Shear, this lesson in Parshah. We're taking a look at Parshat Shelach. This is the Parshah that deals with the story of the spies that go out to see the land of Israel. The story goes that Hashem gave Moshe the choice of allowing a number of the leaders of the tribes to go into the land of Israel and check out what was going on in the land before actually entering the land. Now, the choice, of course, was for Moshe himself, for Moses, to make the final decision as to whether to send them into the land to check what the status of the land was. There was no need to really do so. But Moshe was so well assured that the land of Israel was going to be such a beautiful place that when he sent out the spies, the leaders of the tribes, to check out the land, to tour it, and to see what was going on inside, they would no doubt come back with a good report. Let's take a look at the verses inside the Chumash itself to see exactly what was going on in the story. The Parshah opens and says that Hashem spoke to Moshe saying, Shlach lecha anashim, send for yourself men. We see from here that God says to Moshe that it's his choice. He doesn't really have to do it, but if he'd like to, it's for your purpose, then fine, go ahead and send them. V'yasuru es Eretz Canaan, let them check out the land of Canaan, which is to be later known as the land of Israel. Asher ani nosei livnei Yisrael, that I'm giving to the children of Israel. Ish echad lemate, each person, one person from each tribe, avoisav, of his fathers, tishlachu, send them out. Kol nasi bahem, every leader of them. The people that were going out to check out the land were none other than the leaders of the tribes of the Jewish people. Now just imagine the scene that's taking place. Let's not forget where they were coming from. They were coming from a place of slavery. The Jews had gone down to Egypt at a certain point in time. As we recall, a number of Parshiot ago, already a couple of books ago, they'd gone into the land of Egypt, and then they were enslaved for a total of, 400 years, or 210 years, or 80 years, depending exactly on how we calculate the start of the period of when they were actually in the land of Egypt, and exactly when the afflictions really began, and when were they at their very worst. All this period of time, they're going through much suffering. Moshe comes in at a certain point of time, he saves the Jewish people, he takes them out, and off they go along their journey, and they're off to receiving the Torah. When they receive the Torah, they're off onto their final journey, and they're about to go and enter into the land of Canaan. At this point in time, Hashem says everything is going fine. Let the Jewish people, let the Israelites, in other words, enter into the land, and it's theirs as an inheritance. But nevertheless, because people stumble along the way, he says to Moshe, I'll give you the choice, let these people go in, check out what the land is like, and if they find it to be what they're after, then all is well, let them go in, and let's just see how things go. Moshe says this sounds like a good idea. And at this point in time, it says over here that Vayishlach oisam Moshe midbar paran al pi Hashem, and Moshe sent them from the desert of Paran, according to the word of Hashem, Kulam anashim roshei b'nei Yisrael hema. They were all great men. They were the heads of the Jewish people. And then afterwards it lists the names of these people. And we know within these tribes, there were a total of 10 tribes. And then there were another 2 that kind of stood out. And the heads of these particular 2 tribes were Yehoshua ben Nun and Caleb ben Yefuneh. Now, when they go into the land of Canaan and they begin to check it out, they see all sorts of things going on. When they come back and they return to Moshe, they return with a particular report. 10 of the leaders of the tribes return with a negative report. 2 of them are going to return with a positive report, and they're going to encourage the Jewish people to enter into the land of Canaan. So when they go in over there and Moshe is commanding them, Moshe says to them, Uriyisem es haaretz mahi. He says, when you go into the land, check out what it's like. Ve'es ha'ama yoshev aleha. See what the people are like there. Are they strong or are they weak? Hama'atu imrav. Are they small in number or are there a lot of them? Uma haaretz asher hu yoshev ba, and this land that they're dwelling upon. Hatova hi imra'a, is it good or is it bad? Uma hiarim asher hu yoshev bahena, and about all the cities that they're dwelling there. Habemachanayim or b'mitzarim, are they open and they're secure? They're nice and safe places, or maybe they're like fortresses. Depending on the circumstances, we need to know whether it's a safe place to go to, or if there are guards and you have to worry about what's going on. He continues and he says, "Umaha aretz hashmeina ki im raza," is the land one that's filled with fat, nice, or is it thin? Is it something that there's nothing really going on there? Hayesh ba eitz imayin, are there trees or not? And the various commentators point out over here that trees, of course, doesn't refer necessarily to a physical tree. It can also refer to the tzaddik. The tzaddik is the tree of the land. The tzaddik is the one who provides the fruits and the nourishments for the people of the land. V'hischazektem ulekachdem mipri haaretz, and you shall strengthen yourselves, and you shall take from the fruits of the land. And that time period was the time when they were v'hayamim yemei bikurei anavim. The time was the time of the first fruits, and the fruit was looking at its very best. So they went off and they toured, and they come back with this negative report. Now everybody knows the story. When 10 of the leaders of the tribes come back, they tell a story of a very negative report. They say that they went in and they saw wonderful fruits, big fruits, and all sorts of things. And then they point out afterwards that they saw some terrifying things. They saw giants. They saw people burying each other. They saw big cities. Everything was overwhelming to them. And they didn't know what to do. And they felt so confused. When they came back, they said, perhaps it is better for us not to enter the land. But Yehoshua and Caleb felt very positive about the event. And they mentioned to Moshe that, you know something, they said at this point in time, when they heard all the other people speaking so negatively about the land of Israel. So at this point in time, Caleb ben Yefuneh retorts back to these people, and he says over there, Vayahas Caleb esa'am, that Caleb quietened down the whole nation, El Moshe, to Moshe, Vayomer, and he said, Alo na'aleh v'yarashnu, let us go up and inherit Ota, ki yacholnu chala, because we'll certainly be able to conquer it. At this point in time, we see that Caleb silences everybody and says that it's a good land. We should certainly go up, we should conquer it, and we should be successful. We have 10 negative reports, we have 2 positive reports. What are we going to do? Question. At the end of the day, the Jewish people are going to go into the land, and they're going to find that it's a beautiful place to go into. Why, therefore, were the spies so negative? Why did they hold back the rest of the Jewish people from entering into the land? At the end of the day, the land was good, and they did indeed go into it. The answer lies in a concept that resonates within our own minds. We must remember that in our minds, we have the ability to see things in a positive or a negative light. At all points in time in our lives, we will see that challenges that face us can have a positive outcome or can have a negative outcome. But at the end of the day, the challenge is there. If we seek to conquer it, we can be successful and we can move forwards and we can grow. Whenever we see something in front of ourselves, we have the choice in our own minds to determine whether the thing that we're looking at is something that can turn into something positive or something that we fall into and say it is negative. We can't handle the situation. Every situation that comes up in our lives is a potential for growth. Are we going to take the situation and see it as it should be seen for the growth that we can get out of it? Or are we going to see it in negative light and not grow from it and not enter into it? Let us give an example. There were 2 well-known Rebbes of the Chabad movement. One of them was known as the Tzemach Tzedek. And the Tzemach Tzedek made a very beautiful statement in Yiddish, and he says the statement, Tracht gut wird sein gut. If you think good, it will be good. This is a statement that is credited to the Tzemach Tzedek. But the Tzemach Tzedek had a very wise son who was known as the Rebbe Maharash. The Rebbe Maharash also made a very wise statement in his life. He said, when people come to obstacles in front of them, they have the choice as follows. They can always go underneath the obstacle, but if they find that they can't go underneath the obstacle, they should always try to go over the obstacle. But the Rebbe Maharash said a beautiful statement. He said, but I say, lechatchila ariba. I say in the first instance, go over the obstacle, and then you will be successful without having tried to first go under, being unsuccessful, and then only afterwards gone over the obstacle and being successful. As we go through our lives in this world, we will constantly see in front of ourselves obstacles to better things. As they say, never fall back on where you are today. Continue to grow. Don't fall back into a comfort zone in life. Don't feel that where you are at is sufficient. Always work towards something that you can grow towards, that can make you better, that can make you a greater person. The catch is whenever you want to become greater, like entering into the land, as the spies were doing, there are always going to be tests in front of us. Will we be able to overcome the barrier? Or will we find ourselves lost and say we're not prepared to take the step? The Tzemach Tzedek says you have the choice. So in all things in life, think positively about what the outcome could be, and you stand the chance of success. The Rebbe Maharash goes one step further, and he says, when you encounter obstacles, don't try to go under and around and this way and that way. In your first instance, to start off with, go over the obstacle. This is what we need to do to succeed in our challenges in life. It is interesting to note that the end of Parshat Shelach, the very last Parshah that we read, deals with the laws of the mitzvah of Tzitzit. The Tzitzit consists of 4 strings that are doubled over, becoming 8 strings. And out of these 4 strings doubled over into 8 strings, there is one string which is a different color to all the others. It is a very beautiful blue, and the blue is attained through a creature known as the chilazon. And when they take the blood out and they dye it in a certain way, it turns a very beautiful blue color. We know that this is very important because when we look at the color blue, we can be reminded of the color of the sea, which can remind us of the color of heaven, which can remind us ultimately about God himself. When we look at that lonely blue color within the whites that appear there, when we look with our eyes in the correct way, and we see the beautiful blue that's there, we learn to make a distinction between what is very beautiful and holy and spiritual and what is mundane. These are the white strings. Why does the Torah include the Parshah of Tzitzit together with the Parshah of the Spies? To teach us that when we enter into a situation and we feel that our mind is confused and we don't know which direction to take, and we feel ourselves inclined to going in the negative direction, at that point in time, calm down. Look at the color blue in the Tzitzit. V'lo taturu acharei levavchem v'acharei einechem. Do not stray after your heart and do not stray after your eyes. Implication. When you are after a goal in life and you wish to grow further, don't be taken off track to be distracted by the negative. When your heart directs you in a negative direction, when your eyes direct you in a negative direction, at that point in time, become a Caleb ben Yefuneh, become a Yehoshua ben Nun. Look at the good that is there, climb over the obstacle, see the positive, move forwards, grow in the right direction, and be successful in attaining the goal that you want. I'd just like to end off with a very beautiful idea that I think is important to relate. And that is the idea that whenever we feel ourselves wanting to make a change in our lives, when we want to grow, we have 2 paths before us. One path is to run away from the negative. Another path is to run towards the positive. Let me give an example. Many people find themselves living in a particular country, and then they say to themselves, things are really bad here. Let's go off and let's make aliyah. Things are going to be better. This is the concept of the grass always being greener on the other side. Now, the truth of the matter is, the grass is not necessarily greener on any side. It just depends who's watering the grass, on which side, and therefore what type of grass is it, and how it's coming up. But at the end of the day, you have to look and see what is better for you. Not is it that one is running away from the negative, but rather is one running towards the positive. Are we running away from the country that we're in because we feel it to be unsuitable for ourselves? Well, then when we run to the country that we feel better, we might find ourselves just as trapped. But when we run towards the country because we feel that that country is the one we wish to be in, that that's going to be good for us because that's where we're running to, then we will find our entire mindset shift, and we'll be able to see that where we are running to is a far better place than we have run from. When the spies went into the land of Canaan, these were people who were trying to run away from their problems. And when one tries to run away from the problem, to get out of the desert, then wherever one finds oneself in a negative situation. And therefore one pulls oneself back to the exact point that one was, and one sees that one will not be able to attain a level of success. However, when we are like a Caleb bin Yefuneh and Yehoshua bin Nun, and we go into the country in a positive sense, looking for the good that we can find over there, then indeed, no matter how strong the challenge is, we will definitely succeed and grow and to become better. Let us not lose our faith in Hashem. Throughout all of our life, we will be faced with challenge after challenge. Different types of people will come into our lives, challenging us in unique ways. Situations will come into our lives, challenging us in different ways. We will need to move from our comfort zone, from one level to the next. If we look in the right way towards the goal that we're headed towards, and we have the faith to see the challenge and take it on as we should, then even if nobody says it's an easy challenge, we can meet with success. But if we are simply trying to run away from a situation, then even when we find ourselves in the new situation, we will see the negative even there in that new situation. And as a result, we will be unable to grow. Therefore, what do? We wear our tzitzit. We wear this beautiful garment. And every time that we feel lost and we don't know what to do, we take the tassels, we take the tzitzit, we look at them, and we see the color blue. And we realize that within the mundane, within the difficult, there is always a stripe, so to speak, like the silver lining in every cloud. We have over here the blue lining in every pair of tzitzit. And it is the blue that reminds us that God is there. It's the blue that reminds us that your challenge is real, and for the majority of the challenge, there is a lot of distraction and negativity that surrounds it. But if we apply ourselves correctly, we will see the beauty. We will see the silver lining in the cloud. We will see the blue lining in the tzitzit, which will bring us ultimately closer to Hashem. And when we express our positivity, when we jump over the obstacle, when we have faith then that even though the challenge is there, we will be able to overcome it, then we'll be able to succeed. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed this idea. If you have, please do like the video. Also subscribe to my channel. Share the video with friends. And of course, if you'd like to be in touch with me, please visit my site, lovingkindness.co, and feel free to send me a message over there to discuss any issues of life or challenges that you're going through. Let's meet up one day and speak about it together and grow together. Of course, if you'd like to study some Torah one-on-one, please feel free to contact me via the website and let me know what's up, and let's set up a time to learn together. Thanks very much for joining me. I appreciate it, and I wish you everything of the best. Hope to see you soon. Take care. Shalom, shalom. Bye-bye.